The Trudeau family has been a dynasty in Canadian politics for almost 40 years now. And when we're discussing Justin Trudeau, we cannot talk about his rise to power without discussing the Trudeau Foundation, which has played a key role in both getting him into power and holding him in place. And it will definitely play a critical position in the 2019 election. The Trudeau Foundation was created in the memory of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Canada's 15th Prime Minister, after his death in 2000. The foundation itself was created in 2001 with Justin and Alexandre Trudeau as founding members. According to the foundation website, it states, "The Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation is an independent and nonpartisan charity established in 2001 as a living memorial to the former Prime Minister. In 2002, with the support of the House of Commons, the Government of Canada endowed the foundation with the Advanced Research in the Humanities and Human Science Fund. The foundation also benefits from private donations. By granting doctoral scholarships, awarding fellowships, appointing mentors, and holding public events, the foundation encourages critical reflection and action in 4 areas important to Canadians: human rights and dignity, responsible citizenship, Canada's role in the world, and people and their natural environment." Despite stating that the foundation is nonpartisan, from an early on it has been questionable as if this is truly the case. In 2002, a year after the foundation's creation, the then sitting Liberal government donated $125 million to the foundation. This donation was said to be to improve the education in the social sciences. The Prime Minister at the time was Jean Chrétien. Chrétien served in several different cabinet positions for Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, serving as Minister of Justice, Minister of Finance, Minister of Indian Affairs and Northern Development, Minister of State for Social Development, and Minister responsible for constitutional negotiations. He played a significant role in aiding Trudeau write the Constitution Act of 1982. He had a long professional and personal relationship with Trudeau Sr. With this in mind, it makes one look on this $125 million donation as more than that. Along with being a founding member, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also served on the board of directors. Trudeau filled the foundation with friends and family, which is not uncommon for people to do, but these connections, along with Trudeau's role in Parliament, have led to many shady dealings. The Trudeaus have a firm grip on the foundation. Both brothers are founding members, as was Roy Heenan, a longtime family friend of the Trudeaus. The bylaw states that the Trudeaus and Heenan have the right to appoint 2 directors. Since stepping down from the foundation, the Prime Minister claims that he no longer exercises this power anymore. In February 2017, Roy Heenan died, leaving just Alexandre and Justin Trudeau with this authority. Justin Trudeau was reluctant to give up his seat on the board of directors, considering that it took him more than a year and a half after winning the Liberal Party leadership to resign from his position. He had been a sitting MP since 2008 and leader of the party since April 2013, yet it wasn't until December 2014 until he formally withdrew from the foundation, and his name has been listed as a member of marketing for the foundation as recently as September 2014. If this was any other sitting MP, especially a leader of a party, this attachment would be suspicious, but this situation with the Trudeau Foundation is just compounded by the fact that in 2007, Justin Trudeau resigned as one of the directors of the Canadian Avalanche Foundation to pursue public office. The Canadian Avalanche Foundation is a non-profit organization that examines potential avalanche hazards and trains the public to survive these catastrophes. Trudeau joined the organization after his brother Michael Trudeau was killed in 1998. He had personal ties to the foundation as well, yet was quite willing to resign, stating, quote, "You don't get to be an MP and also be on multiple directorships. I have to step down from all directorships. It's just par for the course. You represent your constituents. You don't represent any other organizations," end quote. He made this statement back in 2007 while he was sitting on the board of directors. Yet he refused to resign from the Trudeau Foundation, an organization that bears his name and would more likely be a source of a conflict of interest, which it has become, as we will see in a few minutes. When Chuck Strahl, a Conservative MP, resigned from the Trudeau Foundation, Justin Trudeau said,
I have not been in any way associated formally or informally with the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Foundation. in many, many years. I stepped down from any of my family-related responsibilities shortly after having gotten elected in order to demonstrate that there is a tremendous separation there.
He claimed it had been many, many years since he had been associated with the foundation, and had done so for transparency. Yet this statement was made in November 2016, less than 2 years after his resignation. This is to distance himself as far as possible from the strings of suspicious activity that are coming out of the foundation. Justin Trudeau claims it was just par for the course to resign from directorships in public office while remaining in control of the Trudeau Foundation, the first lie. And then he claims that it had been a long time since he associated with the foundation because of transparency while holding his position a year and a half into his leadership, the second lie. He claims he has not been associated in any way formally or informally with the foundation, yet his brother, who he sees on a regular basis, still remains on the board. Perhaps all this could be dismissed as a minor oversight and hyperbole in another situation, but not in this one, considering how the Trudeau Foundation has seen a spike in donations since Justin Trudeau became the Liberal Party leader. Between 2009 and 2012, the foundation made an average of $61,000 in donations, but by 2013, that had skyrocketed to $254,000. By 2014, we begin to see large foreign donations. By 2016, almost 75% of the money flowing into the Trudeau Foundation was foreign money. Election Canada rules state that only Canadian citizens and permanent residents can make federal political donations. But as a non-profit organization, the Trudeau Foundation is free to accept foreign donations. In defense of this, the foundation claims the majority of foreign donations come from Canadians living abroad. Don't be fooled, this is in fact a sleight of hand being used by the foundation. They are right when they say it is Canadians living abroad donating most of the money, but it is in fact one Canadian donating most of the foreign donations. That man is John McCall-McBain, who is the current chairman of the Trudeau Foundation and a long-standing member of the board of directors. He donated through his charity, the McCall-McBain Foundation, $53,000 in 2014, 100% of the foreign donations, about $400,000 in 2015, 93% of the foreign donations, with Google making up the rest, and in 2016 he donated $500,000, 93% of foreign donations, with the remaining $35,000 coming from 4 Canadians affiliated with the Trudeau Foundation and living outside of Canada. This is all according to the Trudeau Foundation. On top of this, John McCall-McBain and his wife have donated more than $25,000 to the Liberal Party of Canada over the past couple decades. John McCall-McBain is a Canadian businessman, said to be the 75th richest person in Canada. His charity, the McCall-McBain Foundation, is a Switzerland-based organization. The foundation has repeatedly not responded to questions as to why their donations to the Trudeau Foundation suddenly increased. Along with this, many others of the Trudeau Foundation's members and directors have affiliations with various advocacy groups, organizations looking to influence federal politics, and corporate Canada. Patrick Piché currently sits on the Trudeau Foundation's board of directors. He is a senior vice president and chief financial officer of Google until 2015. He also sits on Bombardier's board of directors. In 2014, Piché helped secure $25,000 in U.S. money from Google to sponsor a Trudeau Foundation conference. Since Trudeau has become Prime Minister, Google has lobbied the government 22 times in 2016, 2 times with the Prime Minister personally. They have also lobbied his Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, and his Principal Secretary, Gerald Butts. We contrast this to Google lobbying Stephen Harper's government only 7 times in 2015. Former NDP Deputy Leader Megan Leslie also sits as a director and also is acting Vice President of the World Wildlife Fund. She has donated to the Trudeau Foundation in 2016. The World Wildlife Fund lobbied the government 29 times in 2016. Peter Harder was previously a foundation advisor who went on to be appointed to the Canadian Senate by Justin Trudeau. Air Canada, the Bank of Montreal, Google, Lafarge Canada, Suncor, and Resolute Forest Products are all listed to lobby the Canadian government and make up half of all event partners for the Trudeau Foundation in 2014. Since 2014, about 40% of the 108 donors to the Trudeau Foundation have relations with organizations that lobby the government. This comes up to be about 1 in 6 donors. A chart attached to a package of marketing materials sent to Google on September 4th, 2014 detailed sponsorship incentives, including a section labeled Networking Opportunities. A gift of $50,000 or more entitled a sponsor to convene a private event for up to 25 people with, quote, key members of the Trudeau Foundation Society, end quote. Justin Trudeau, who was Liberal leader at that time, was named along with his brother at the bottom of the list of Foundation members. One of Justin Trudeau's scandals has been the Cash for Access scandal, where the Liberal fundraisers have charged $1,500 per plate to a dinner that gave extended personal interactions with Justin Trudeau. Many have claimed that these sort of events are a way to sidestep bribery and ethical laws. It has been seen as favoring rich donors to attend, since the average Canadian cannot afford the $1,500 entrance fee. As such, the entrance fee makes up almost 100% a Canadian can donate to a political party in a year, which is $1,550. So I believe that if the political donation regulations weren't in place, the entrance fee would be significantly higher. It has even been revealed that Trudeau has been lobbied during these events, a violation of Canadian ethical law. This he admitted personally. During one of these events, Trudeau met with several Chinese businessmen. One of these men, Bin Zhang, is a Chinese national. Along with the 3 other businessmen, they are senior members in Chinese state-controlled entities, with the goal of spreading China's influence across the world. One of these other businessmen attending the fundraiser, Shenglin Zian, was waiting on Ottawa's approval to open a bank in Canada. 1 month after the event, Bin Zhang made a donation of $1 million. $200,000 went to the Trudeau Foundation, and the rest was being donated to the University of Montreal, of which $50,000 was dedicated to build a statue of Pierre Elliott Trudeau in his honor on the campus. Another $750,000 will fund the University of Montreal's Faculty of Law scholarship, which includes grants for Quebec students to visit China. Rightfully so, many questioned the Prime Minister over the events that took place, considering the timeline. It was at this time the Foundation's director, Strahl, resigned from his position. This was due to Justin Trudeau using his and Megan Leslie's name during his defense of the donation. Strahl ended stating in his resignation letter, quote, "Since my role as director has been raised by representatives of the Liberal Party of Canada on the floor of the House of Commons, it has now become a political football that I want no part of," end quote. He further elaborated in a radio interview.
Well, I mean, to be clear, I'm not angry or annoyed with the Trudeau Foundation, but I am plenty annoyed with the Liberals for for dragging my name into the House of Commons and using me as a foil or a cover for what they're doing. They're basically saying, you know, Chuck's on the board of directors at the foundation, so can't.
Megan Leslie, who also sits on the Trudeau Foundation's board of directors, also commented on the matter, saying she regretted that her name and position was dragged into the situation. This scandal was just another example of Trudeau's willingness to deflect blame. By bringing in the Conservative and the NDP members of Parliament, Trudeau has passed the criticism from both parties onto those individuals. This is probably because Trudeau knows what Charles Barton, a leading expert on China, and the rest of Trudeau's critics already know. That the $1 million donation was intended to curry favor with Trudeau for China. In addition to this, after Trudeau attended a fundraiser at the mansion of multimillionaire Miao Fei Pan on November 7th in Vancouver, Pan urged the Prime Minister to allow Chinese investment in senior care. Later that month, Anbang Insurance Group bought a majority stake in Vancouver-based senior care company Retirement Concepts in a deal reported to have exceeded $1 billion. As if this wasn't enough, In March of 2017, the Trudeau Foundation paid $2,760 for a Liberal MP, Arif Virani, to travel to London, England, the first time the foundation has ever done so in its entire history. This puts to bed the lie that the Trudeau Foundation is a nonpartisan group, even if it is a small funding simply to travel to a conference. This is the foundation overstepping its responsibilities and its abilities, deliberately and blatantly, while a man bearing the foundation's name is sitting as one of the most powerful political figures in Canada. It is not uncommon for the foundation to ask individuals, including politicians, to travel to a conference on behalf of the foundation and pay for travel and lodging. However, this would be the first time the foundation had done so for a sitting member of parliament. From here, it is just my stupid opinion. As we examine the connections and the benefits of the Trudeau Foundation, we begin to see a clearer picture. Many of Trudeau's decisions have gone to benefit those that donate to the Trudeau Foundation. The policies in the business world will allow those that donate to the foundation to dominate their field or bring the industry under government control, as seen with Air Canada and Bombardier. The support of the carbon tax will help fund the World Wildlife Fund, and since Suncor is branching out from the oil sands, focusing their attention towards green energy and renewable sources, this allows them to dominate the rising field, avoid paying large amounts in carbon tax, while at the same time, Trudeau relocates pipelines that will benefit the Suncor oil sands, bringing in further revenue now until the carbon tax really takes effect in 2022. At the same time, the carbon tax would force out any small-time oil companies from competing with Suncor, while bringing in huge revenue for the government while doing very little to actually help the problem of climate change. On the Liberal government's first day in office, they asked Google to delete search results for web pages of the previous Prime Minister Stephen Harper. When confronted on this, the Liberals claimed it was to keep the information available current, and that all websites and records were available through Library and Archives Canada. Doing so has severely limited the availability of the information on Prime Minister Harper, and the fact that this was done on November 4th, the day the Liberals took office, is extremely concerning, as it proves that Trudeau's Liberals were all about control and authority. This act of deletion continued until January 2016. Since Google controls some 80 to 90% of the available information, taking away this information means that most Canadians will never find the information they are looking for unless they are willing to dive deep into the government records, a boring task, and most will be unwilling to do so. Google's censorship on its search engines, and most infamously its censorship on YouTube, shows a concerning partnership between our current government and Big Brother. This will definitely come to play in the next election, as many apolitical citizens will rely on a simple Google search in order to explain to them in 30 minutes the current political climate. Can we seriously expect Google to provide a list of Trudeau's scandals over the course of his time in office? It is clear that opponents of Trudeau will have to dominate social media in order to win over potential voters and inform them of the dangers of the Trudeau government. The Bank of Montreal is one of Canada's big five banks, along with the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, Toronto Dominion Bank, TD, Bank of Nova Scotia, Scotiabank, and Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC. But one advantage that the BMO has over the rest at the moment is that they are holding Justin Trudeau's money in a blind trust. This means that they are free to invest and move money as they see fit with very little worry of government coming after them. This is clear from the release of the Panama Papers over the last year, which linked the Bank of Montreal, Justin Trudeau, and Finance Minister Bill Morneau to laundering their assets in offshore accounts in order to avoid Canadian tax laws. This should have been taken in consideration when looking over the Liberal tax changes that were implemented before the end of 2017, which received much criticism for going after small-time business owners, targeting them as needing to pay their fair share, meanwhile allowing the true tax cheats to shelter their own money from these changes. Finally, with the investments made by the Chinese businessmen, it is clear that they are trying to influence Trudeau, considering how their job is to spread the influence of China across the globe. This may be why, recently on a trip to China, Trudeau surprised the Chinese Prime Minister by dropping a trade discussion on him. The trade talks were trumped up before Trudeau left, but soon after the Liberal cabinet did its best to downplay expectations. The talks did not go well, as Trudeau tried to put forward a progressive agenda, and Trudeau ended up coming back empty-handed. But was this sudden talk of trade with China simply due to the unsteady future of our NAFTA agreement, or is this what the Chinese have been paying for all along? We cannot forget that Canada has huge access to natural resources such as oil and the largest supply of fresh water in the world. Could this possibly be a way to get their hands on our natural resources? It is worth noting the history of Canada and China when discussing this situation. Pierre Elliott Trudeau had unnerving sympathy for communist countries. He was the first Western leader to visit Cuba under Fidel Castro's dictatorship and praised Fidel on what he had done for the country. Fidel Castro appeared at Pierre Trudeau's funeral in 2000. Upon Castro's death, Justin Trudeau, like his father before him, praised Castro for his leadership. Pierre Trudeau was the first Western leader to recognize the People's Republic of China's government after it took power in 1949, and was also the first Western leader to visit the country. Pierre Trudeau was said to have a deep fascination for Chinese culture, Chinese history, and Chinese politics. Years later, when asked about which country he admired and why, Justin Trudeau stated, quote, "There's a level of admiration I actually have for China. Their basic dictatorship is actually allowing them to turn their economy around on a dime." End quote. Finally, Pierre Trudeau was often criticized as being too sympathetic to the Soviet Union during the Cold War. He was significantly more sympathetic to the communists than previous governments. Many times he sided with the Soviets over the Americans, even going as far as to suggest that America posed a greater risk to Canada than the Soviet Union did, saying America was, quote, "a danger to our national identity from a cultural, economic, and perhaps even military point of view," end quote. Ironically, Pierre Trudeau's sympathies to the communists acted as a tension buffer between the Soviets and America in several situations. These days, Justin Trudeau has taken a stronger stance against Russia than his father did, increasing sanctions against the country. But this is probably more due to the fact that Russia is no longer a communist country, while both Cuba and China still remain under their respective dictatorships. China, to this day, remains Canada's second biggest trading partner. Renegotiating a trade deal would be another step towards a closer relationship with China. His affiliation for socialist policies could be seen in the 2015 federal election when Justin Trudeau's Liberals outflanked the NDP on the left, Canada's Democratic Socialist Party, to win the progressive and leftist vote. His policies of equality at all costs have been reminiscent to how they are applied in a communist country like China, fronting to improve society while in fact strengthening the leader's hold on authoritative power. Since coming into office, Trudeau has managed to point towards the middle class as the enemy of the working class, a tactic used by Lenin in the 1917 October Revolution. He has solidified hate speech laws into our criminal code, thereby censoring what people can say, and has repeatedly promised a transparent government while hiding all his activities and refusing to answer any questions. He has taken lots of foreign money, even opening the door for foreign investors to come in and buy into Canadian businesses. The comparison of the Trudeau Foundation and the Clinton Foundation is uncanny. Both have been caught in similar scandals such as cash for access, taking on foreign money, appointing those that donate to them into positions of power in government, and seeing large boosts in donations once they were placed into positions of power. The difference between the two is Hillary Clinton lost the presidential election, and the donations to the Clinton Foundation died almost immediately. Trudeau won the leadership, and the funds increased. He won the Canadian election, and the funds skyrocketed, including foreign money, even if it is largely coming from the McCall-McBain Foundation. For any Americans, if they want to see what their future would have been had Hillary Clinton won the presidential election, they only have to look to north of their border, because Justin Trudeau is Canada's Hillary Clinton. In Canada, donations by corporations are banned, and unions have heavy restrictions on donations. It seems to me, then, that to circumvent these rules, donations to the Trudeau Foundation are a good way to do this. The money gets funneled into the foundation, which is then in turn used to fund the projects advertised by the foundation. The directors are not paid, as stated by the foundation's website, but the real point is less about the money and more about the influence. The foundation spreads the name Trudeau, spreading its influence, which draws in big donors. This creates a middleman connection between the sitting prime minister and the organization, but allows them to then buy off Trudeau to push policies that will assist these corporations, in turn furthering Trudeau's personal agenda, an agenda of pushing Canada further to the left and increasing government profits, which is then being used by the Liberals to support their remaining in power by giving out large government subsidies to those that support them, giving money and benefits to the public that vote for them, and increase the immigration intake in order to increase potential voters, the real reason for Trudeau's fixation on the Muslim community. It is confirmed that many immigrants will vote for the left-wing party. But for Trudeau's fixation with the Muslim community, this is really due to them being a large minority group in Canada that can shift the results in swing ridings to be in the favor of the Liberals over the Conservatives. The passing of Bill C-16 was due to the progressive obsession with the LGBT community as a political tool, and has fueled the narrative that we live in an extremely racist, sexist, Islamophobic, transphobic, white supremacist society, and that he himself is the only shining beacon in a dark world, the only possible future for a tolerant Canada. Trudeau is a B-movie actor fronting as a politician. He believes he should be in Tinseltown on the silver screen, but the rest of us are only seeing Sharknado. He believes that he has the public convinced with his same old bag of tricks, which is why he has not adjusted his tactics in the past 2 years. To those that don't take interest in politics, it is easy to overlook. But to those who have been paying attention, we see through his phony smile, his perfect hair and feminist exterior to see the power-hungry wannabe dictator whose only goal is to seize power and hold it at all cost. Through his foundation, Trudeau's code of money to lobbying appointments to political action has put him in the Prime Minister's office and is, to this day, the source of the Trudeau power. There is an old expression, cut the head of the snake off. The Trudeau Foundation is the head of the Prime Minister's basilisk. If we want to take down the Prime Minister from his throne, it will be essential for the Canadian people to expose and defund this organization, thereby severing the main arteries of influence to Trudeau. While lobbying to the government will always be around and is still an available tactic to these corporations, shutting down the foundation will render Trudeau's influence impotent and pave the way to remove this joker from the House of Commons.